you crave exciting sports takes and news? Fed up with the same old boring voices you hear on the radio? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you just might be a TBloomaholic. Lucky for you, it's time for another episode of the TBloom Talk Show, the #1 sports podcast in the world. Settle in, my TBloomanites, because another episode starts right now. Live from TBloom headquarters, here's your host, TBloom.
All right, nation, what's going on? Another episode of the TBloom Talk Show. Let me close the booth real quick. Get your ass down. Welcome back, another episode, TBloom Talk Show. Oh man, it is another. How can I put this? Disappointing week, disappointing end to a week of football, and it's for a few things. Not only did my Steelers lose to, I don't even want to say their name, the Ravens, who, if you guys know anything about football, you understand that it doesn't matter what your record is or what's going on in your team. The Steelers and the Ravens are one of the biggest rivalries ever, so losing to them, regardless of record, is never fun. Not to mention watching, I don't even want to mention his name, not to mention watching someone who you thought you got rid of, who you thought you didn't have to deal with again for the rest of the season, come in and single-handedly lose you a game. Now, we'll get into all that in a second. What I have in my hand right here, you know how it is. I got the stats, I got all the scores for every game, the standings, what we're going to be seeing here in the upcoming week, but I want to talk about something that's a little bit more important. So corporate's on my ass, guys. And for you guys who don't know, the TBloom Entertainment is the overall, how can I put this? The overall brand. TBloom Entertainment's the overall brand. And we have corporate offices. TBloom Talk Show is an extension outside of that brand. Now, I get so much shit from corporate, like, oh, you only got 57 subscribers, TBloom. I need more to keep you on air. I mean, money doesn't make itself, right? And I'm sitting here thinking, dude, those 57 subscribers, they need me. They love it. I love being here for them. But to them, it's all about money. So with that being said, I need you guys to tell a friend to tell a friend. Right now, if every single person right now who is watching this, I average about 30 viewers per episode. If every single person were to do that and get another subscriber to the TBloom Entertainment page, it would do me wonders. It would pretty much save the possibility from TBloom Talk Show collapsing, and that's not what we want, right? We want this thing to continue. So with that being said, try to get someone to sign up for a subscription. Do whatever you can so we can keep this thing going. That's all the amount of time I'm going to spend on that topic. Let's just get right into it. If I could put this week into one word of how it made me feel, it'd be disappointing. I just mentioned the Steelers-Ravens did not go how I wanted it to. Steelers ended up losing. We'll talk about that in a second. But I also officially have just been eliminated from both of my fantasy teams, or both my fantasy playoffs on both of my leagues. Usually I have about 3 or 4. This year I stuck to 2 because I hate the feeling of having multiple players in different leagues. And there's just collusion, right? There's just collusion in, like, okay, let's say, for instance, you'll have Tom Brady in one league, and then you're going against him in 2 different leagues. So it's like, do you root for him? And it just wasn't the best. So I only had 2 leagues this year, and I'm out of both of them, so I don't have any hype going around in that. I don't have any playoff intensity going on in that. And also my Steelers have all but been eliminated from the playoffs. There's still a chance, technically, that we can come back and win. I'm going to be rooting the hell out of that. But losing to the Ravens made that a really, really tough possibility. So, with that being said, let's just get to some games. Something that made me happy this weekend, the Carolina Panthers versus the Seattle Seahawks. Carolina 30, the Seahawks 24. Carolina moves to 5-8. Seahawks move to 7-6. The Seahawks now are number 2 in the division on a 1-game losing streak. They are not in the playoffs technically at this point. They're on a downward trend. You can't lose to Carolina and go up. And their next game will be against the 49ers. On the other side, the Carolina Panthers, they're number 2 in their division. See, they still have a chance to make the playoffs because the NFC South is just an absolute shite show. I try to think of a better word. I try not to cuss, but there's no other way to put it. The NFC South is the shittiest show in the NFL right now. But they sit at number 2. They're on a 2-game win streak, so looking up. Things are looking up in Carolina. They are not in the playoffs at the moment. They are trending up because they just beat the Seahawks. But next week they will take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're going to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers should win this game, but who knows at this point. A lot of questions with the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. Let's go over some stats. So on the Seahawks side of things, oh no. Yeah. So on the Seahawks side of things, Geno Smith, 21 for 36, 264 yards, 3 TDs, and 2 interceptions. A little bit of a sloppy play. Marquise Goodwin, 5 receptions, 95 yards, and a TD. DK Metcalf, 5 receptions, 71 yards, and a TD. Based on the stats, you'd think the Seahawks were going to be able to pull this one out. Because on the other side of things, Sam Darnold, 14 for 24, 120 yards, and a TD. Then you got Chuba Hubbard, 14 carries, 74 yards, and a TD. Shout out Chuba. Nothing much really to talk about here. 2 really underwhelming teams. Nothing exciting happened that I know of. I didn't watch the game, but what are you going to talk about here? Fucking Geno Smith and fucking Chuba Hubbard and Sam Darnold? I don't really want to talk about that right now. But the Carolina Panthers move on to 5-8. Seattle Seahawks 7-6. We'll move on to our next game, which was a much, much more exciting one. You got the Dolphins versus the Los Angeles Chargers. This game had all the makings for a high-scoring shootout, possibly the greatest game that you could have seen this week. Did it happen to be that way? Not really. I mean, it was a little bit of an underwhelming game. I mean, the Chargers would end up taking it. They win 23-17. I mean, with typical Chargers, wait until the end of the season to turn it on, right? Miami moves to 8-5. The Chargers are now 7-6 for the Chargers. Justin Herbert, 39 for 51. Austin Eckler, 15 carries. Justin Herbert, 39 for 51, 367 yards and a TD. Austin Eckler, 15 carries, 45 yards and a TD. He also had 8 receptions for 59 yards. And when I was writing this stat for Austin Eckler, it brought up a big question of mine. And why don't we talk about Austin Eckler being one of the best backs in the league? The guy does it all. He can carry the ball. He can catch the ball. He can do it all. I mean, outside of CMC, he might be the most versatile back in the league. You could argue for Saquon Barkley too, but if you look at the stats, Austin Eckler, the man can do it all. And is it because of the system he's in that we tend to shy away from bringing him up in the conversation? The Chargers do rely on the running back to catch a lot of balls. Not to mention, Justin Herbert throws about 50 times a game. At least some of those throws are going to go to the running back. Maybe that's why we overlook him. But I think it's time we start putting Austin Eckler in the conversation for best running back in the league. I'm not saying he is the best. Calm down. I can hear you guys talking shit from here. What I'm saying is he needs to be brought up in the conversation. Moving forward with that, though, Mike Williams, 6 receptions, 116 yards, and 1 TD. Keenan Allen, 12 receptions, 92 yards. Good to see Keenan Allen coming back to his usual form. 12 receptions with 92 yards. You could tell he was doing a lot of route running out there, going against that Miami D, who isn't too bad. Statistically speaking, they're not too bad, but he tore him up out there. Mike Williams also did too, so shout out them. On the other side of things, Tua Tagovailoa, 10 for 28, 145 yards and a TD. Struggled to even get a completion. 18 incompletions, only 10 completions. Not going to win very many ball games like that. Tyreek Hill, on the other hand, 4 receptions, 81 yards, and 1 TD. T. Hill doing T. Hill things. He might be the best receiver in the league. Let me know what you think in the comments below. The Chargers are number 2 in the division. They are on a 1-game win streak. They are not in the playoffs technically right now, but they are on an upward trend, and they play the Tennessee Titans next week, who are on quite a bit of a losing streak. On the other side of things, Miami Dolphins, 2nd in the division. They're on a 2-game losing streak. They're 6th seed in the playoffs right now if the season were to end today, but they got to go on a downward trend because they just lost to the Chargers, who they have all the talent in the world, yeah, but you got to beat these guys. You got on a downward trend. They will be playing the Buffalo Bills next week, which is going to be obviously fireworks, or maybe not fireworks as in smash the over by any means, but the Bills versus the Miami Dolphins, both of these teams have so much talent on their team. It's going to be exciting. They both need wins. I can see that probably being the game of the week. We'll see. We'll see on Friday's podcast what I'm thinking. Moving on to the next game, you got the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Denver Broncos. This game actually turned out to be a lot more exciting than I'm sure most of you anticipated. If you remember on my last podcast, I picked the Denver Broncos to win. Something told me, hey, something stanky over here. Something stank going on. Broncos coming into this one haven't beaten the Chiefs since 2015, so you knew for a fact they had all of the, all the reason to just go out and ball out, and they're not a team that's going to make the playoffs, obviously. The Russell Wilson Let's Ride era might be the most disappointing era, not only for the Denver Broncos, but for any team in all of sports. The amount of hype that was coming into the season with this team, and for them to sit at 3-10 like they are right now is just, it's so disappointing. And I'm not even a Bronco fan. What was I going with this? Yeah, okay, so they had all the reason to come in and try to beat the Chiefs, or at least put it all on the line. If not, go to the playoffs, at least beat the Chiefs by the end of the season. They did not. The Chiefs would win 34-28. They would move to 10-3. Let's take a look at some stats. Patrick Mahomes, 28 for 42, 352 yards, 3 TDs, but also 3 interceptions. And that's the thing about this Broncos team. Elite defense. This defense is good enough to win a Super Bowl. Not saying that okay. No, they are good enough to win a Super Bowl. I'm going to stand on that. They have a good enough fucking defense to win a Super Bowl. Isaiah Pacheco, 13 carries, 70 yards. He's on the come up. Jerick McKinnon, 7 receptions, 112 yards, 2 TDs. And Juju Smith-Schuster with his best performance as a Chief up to date. 9 receptions, 74 yards, and 1 TD. Chiefs, they stand at number 1 in the division. They're on a 1-game winning streak. They are second seed in the playoffs, and they're trending. They're neither up or down. They should have beat the Broncos, and they did beat the Broncos. So I'm not going to put them up. I'm not going to put them down. They will take on the Cardinals next week. We all know what's going on with Kyler Murray tearing his ACL. It sucks to see him go like that. It hasn't been the most successful season for the Cardinals by any means, but things just got a little bit worse out there. They will take on the Cardinals. On the other side of things, you got the Denver Broncos still on a 5-game losing streak. Where do you go from here, man? I mean, if you're a Broncos fan, leave it in the comments. What are you thinking for next season? Are you thinking you want to ride with Russell Wilson? Or what do you got to do? I mean, you're stuck with a $250 million contract with the guy, so do you even have an option? Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Their next game will be the Texans, which is going to be interesting because they both suck. They both suck, right? Who sucks the least? We'll find out next week. Tune in. That's all I got to say about that game. Chiefs are rolling. Broncos are strolling. Next game, maybe the most disappointing. Not the most disappointing. Maybe the most interesting game, and I'll tell you why here at the end. Let's just run through it. Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the San Francisco 49ers. Tampa Bay would lose 7-35. They are 6-7, still number 1 in the division. They're 4th seed in the NFC. They're on a downward trend because you just got whooped by the Niners. Not saying the Niners aren't a good team, but 35-7, there's no way you can get blown out by that and maintain even status. Not in my eyes. Their next game will be against the Bengals. That's going to be an interesting one. I think that's going to be a lot closer than people think. Let's go through some stats, and I'll tell you why this was such an interesting matchup. San Francisco 49ers, Brock Purdy, his first start, 16 for 21, 185 yards, 2 TDs, and 1 rushing TD. 3 TDs total for the... is he a rookie? Is Brock Purdy a rookie? Let me know in the comments. Brock Purdy coming in, first start, 3 TDs against the GOAT. Can't ask for much of a better way to start off your career, right? I mean, he didn't have to do anything special this game by any means. The San Francisco 49ers defense is really making it easy for him, especially in this game. All he had to do was just not fuck it up. Just don't blow it. Don't give it to Tom and let him have his own little thing. Just don't fucking blow it. And he didn't blow it. So kudos to Brock Purdy. Niners rolling. CMC, 14 carries, 119 yards, and 1 TD. And that TD was a long one. Beautiful run by CMC. I think his longest since he's been on the 49ers. Maybe of the whole season for CMC. Seems like he doesn't ever get long runs anymore. Maybe because the defenses are keying in on him. I don't know. If you look at the Niners, they're number 1 in the division. They're on a 6-game win streak, 3 in the playoff positioning, and their upward trend, obviously, you just smacked the shit out of the greatest quarterback in the world. And they will be playing the Seahawks next week, which was always an interesting matchup. possibly one of the best rivalries in the league. On the other hand, yeah, the Bucks, this is what made it interesting, how do I even put this? Is Tom Brady done? Like, is it over? Is it finally fucking over? And if it is over, how do you feel about it? Because in my perspective, being a Steeler fan, I hate the guy more than anybody. I know he doesn't play for the Patriots anymore, but it feels weird. It's like I never thought it would happen. And I'm also like, if it is the end, what exactly is it? And I hate bringing it up. I really fucking hate talking about people's personal lives. But when you're Tom Brady and you had a wife who's a supermodel, your business is in the media regardless if the TBloom talk show's talking about it. So I'm going to talk about it. Did it take a divorce to stop the greatest quarterback in the world ever to finally be bad? Is that what the biggest factor is? Did it take a family being broken up to stop Tom Brady from being good? Or is it age? Is 45 the age that you can't do it anymore? Or at least Tom Brady couldn't do it anymore. I'm not too sure, man. I'm really not too sure. I'm kind of stuck on it. It's just a really bizarre circumstance because you can't really put it on. There's so many things you could put it on. It's like you still don't know the question of what is it going to take to end Tom Brady's career. Was it the divorce? Was it the age? Maybe he's not eating as much avocado ice cream as he was. Maybe he's sneaking into the Rocky Road ice cream a little bit more. These are things you have to calculate because, I mean, I've been through a breakup before. I think we all have. It's not easy, right? Sometimes you got to indulge and eat food, and maybe that's what Brady's doing. He's sad, man. Maybe he's sad. Maybe it's all a big thing. I'm going to get off the whole topic because I'm just rambling at this point, but it's just an interesting scenario of what's going on with Tom Brady. And the thing is, the most interesting thing about it is, I got two pens here, one blue, one red. I was going to say something there. Nothing. Where was I going with this? Yeah, it's interesting because he still is going to probably make the playoffs. And anytime you get Tom Brady in the playoffs, I know he's not playing very well right now, but you got to think, man, they got Julio Jones, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. That defense is nasty. I know they give up 35 this game, but they still are pretty elite. What if he makes a run and wins the Super Bowl? If you're Giselle, do you come back? You have to. You have to. You're fucking Giselle. Your fucking ex just thinks he can go out, get a divorce, and win a Super Bowl. You got to come back. I mean, Jesus. The other thing that's interesting is the Brock Purdy situation. I mean, it just keeps adding on to the fire of what you're going to do with Trey Lance next year. Because even if he doesn't win the Super Bowl this year, Brock Purdy, even if he just is successful in the playoffs, maybe he loses to the Eagles by 1 point. What the fuck do you do? Like, you gonna punish a guy for not being a number one pick and losing to the number one seed in the playoffs? How do you do that? And it's not like Trey Lance is just playing lights out football when he was playing. Let's not forget, the Trey Lance led 49ers were never as good as the Jimmy G led 49ers. And so far, Brock Purdy's led 49ers are better than Trey Lance's best led 49er football team. Interesting stuff. That's going to move me on from the next game. Let's get past this all. All right, get this fucking shit out of my face. All right. Fucking shit, dude. Come on. Can I get some help here? Jesus Christ. I got to do all this shit on my own. Next game, Minnesota Vikings, Detroit Lions. Minnesota would lose as I predicted and as Vegas knew, I guess. I thought I was the only one. Fucking Detroit, they win 34-23. Minnesota moves to 10-3. The Detroit Lions move to 6-7. On the Lions side of things, Jared Goff, 27 for 39, 330 yards, and 3 TDs. Is Jared Goff a top 10 QB? Let me know in the comments. DJ Chark, 6 receptions, 94 yards, and 1 TD. Excuse me. The Lions are now second in the division, 2-game win streak, not in the playoffs quite yet. Upward trend, definitely, and they got a big test next week with the New York Football Jets. Two teams that are definitely on the come up. Two franchises that have sucked for so long and they're trying to turn it around, make the playoffs, that's probably going to be the game of the week, I suspect. TBloom, game of the week, early prediction. On the Vikings side of things, you got Kirk Cousins, 31 for 41, 425 yards, 2 TDs. Looking at that stat line, you think, how the fuck do you lose this game? How does Kirk Cousins lose this game with that stat line? Justin Jefferson, 11 receptions, 223 yards. Should have had a TD, but they called it back, said he stepped out. I didn't watch the game. I haven't seen too many highlights on it, but from what I did see, I don't think he stepped out. I'm just saying, I don't think he stepped out. Adam Thielen, 7 receptions, 65 yards. The Vikings are still number 1 in their division. They're on a 1-game losing streak, second seed in the NFC. Downward trend because you just lost to the Lions. You can't keep staying up. You can't stay up when you lose to the Lions, okay, buddy? All right? You're on a downward trend. Their next game is going to be the Indianapolis Colts, and you got to think they're going to be fired up to do that and beat the Indianapolis Colts, who are coming off a bye. Not much else to talk about with that. I mean, shout out the fucking Detroit Lions for not giving up. Could have very well just gave up and went for that first overall pick as they usually do, but they didn't, so respect. Next game, Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Tennessee Titans. Now, the Tennessee Titans came up and, well, hell, it looked like they were going to win. Derrick Henry finished with 17 carries, 121 yards, and a TD. Ryan Tannehill, 25 for 38, 254 yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception. I'm going to fuck this next name up. I think it's the tight end for the Tennessee Titans. Chigoziem Okonokwo. Tell me if I messed that up in the comments. He had 6 receptions, 45 yards, and 1 TD. But it wasn't enough as they would eventually lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars 22-36. Jaguars, T-Law, baby, coming into his own. 30 for 42, 368 yards, 3 TDs. Evan Ingram, haven't heard that name in a while. Forgot that guy was even on the team. 11 receptions, 162 yards, and 2 TDs. That's probably the best game of his career, even dating back to his Giant days. Next one, Zay Jones, 8 receptions, 77 yards, and a TD. Jaguars sit at number 2 in the division, 1-game win streak. Not in the playoffs just yet, but definitely not out. Still have a chance. They're on an upward trend. Their next game is going to be against the Dallas Cowboys, and Dallas Cowboys better watch out because you can't play the Jaguars like you played the Texans this week, and we'll get into that in a second. On the other side of things, Tennessee still number 1 in their division. They are on a 3-game losing streak, though. You got to think, I mean, what do you do here? I mean, their passing defense, their passing defense has just been horrendous, and their passing offense, I get it. Ryan Tannehill didn't have a bad stat line, but they were playing from behind a lot. So you got to think a lot of those yards for Ryan Tannehill, just garbage time stuff. They are 4th in the playoffs right now because they're leading the division. They're on a downward trend, definitely. And next week, they're going to play against another desperate team in the Los Angeles Chargers, who, quite possibly, we just talked about, had their biggest win of the season. So that a lot of good games now I'm thinking about it. Next week is going to be chock full of them. It's getting to an exciting time. And let me just break off for a second. Even though I'm out of the playoffs in my fantasy, I'm out of the playoffs. Well, the Steelers aren't technically out of the playoffs. We can still make it. I'm still going to be rooting for them. And I'm still going to be hopeful. Even though the whole thing's happening, it doesn't take away the excitement, at least for me, as a football fan of all these games and all these scenarios that could take place and how it's all going to shape up. It's still an exciting time, and this is why I absolutely love NFL football. I love this time of year, man, and I know you guys do too. Let's just embrace the fact that we're in the midst of the last 3 weeks of the season, right? The last 4 weeks of the season. Let's take the time to really respect it, really take it in, because before you know it, it's going to be gone. We're going to have to sit here and watch fucking NBA like we give a fuck. That's kind of fucked up. Sometimes I do care about the NBA, but it ain't the same, man. At least not for me. Let's move on. Philadelphia Eagles versus the New York Football Giants. Every week it seems like I think somehow, some way the Philadelphia Eagles are going to lose, and it's every week they win by even more than I could have ever imagined. Philadelphia 48, New York Giants 22. Philadelphia now 12-1, New York 7-5-1. Probably the best division in football. Either these guys or the AFC East. Yeah, I mean, either them or the AFC East. You have to look at certain situations, certain stuff. But One of the best divisions in football. Let's take a look at the Giants side of things. Daniel Jones, 18 for 27, 169 yards and 1 TD, 1 rushing TD to add on top of that. Saquon Barkley, now I'm only going to say the stat because I'm questioning, like, did he get hurt or something? Did I not, let me look that up. I don't even know why I'm asking you guys. I should be telling you guys. Saquon Barkley, injury? Anything popping up? Saquon Barkley good after playing through injury and lost. I mean, here's what I bring his stat line up for. 9 carries, 28 yards. You can't win your football games as a Giant with him only getting 9 touches. You just cannot. That guy has to get the ball way more than 9 times to win the game. I mean, that's your most dynamic player on the whole team. He has to get that ball way more times. Especially against the Eagles, you're going to have to put up points. You're going to have to. Richie James, 7 receptions, 61 yards, and 1 TD. The Giants sit at 4th in the division. They're on a 1-game losing streak. They're 7th seed in the playoffs if the season ends today. On their trend, I'm going to keep them an even kill. This Philadelphia Eagles team is just different. They're just nasty. So I can't complain too much about them losing to the Philadelphia Eagles. They got to pick it up, though. They got the Commanders next week. You know how that's going to go. Another tough division game. They just tied with them the last time they played the Commanders. So you got to think Commanders coming off a bye. They were healing up. They've been preparing for the Giants this whole week. It's going to be tough. They're going to have to make it happen if the Giants want to really make a serious push towards the playoffs. On the other side of things, you got the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts, 21 for 31, 217 yards, 2 TDs, 7 carries, 77 yards, and 1 TD. Miles Sanders, 17 carries, 144 yards, and 2 TDs. A.J. Brown, 4 receptions, 70 yards, and a TD. Devontae Smith, 5 receptions, 64 yards, and a TD. This team is like someone controls them playing Madden. It's like we're living in someone's franchise and they're controlling the Eagles. That's what this whole season has seemed like to me. Truthfully, seriously. They're number 1 in the division. They're on a 4-game win streak. They're on an upward trend. They just keep going on an upward trend, at least for TBloom. And then they're number 1 in the playoffs. They play the Bears next. So not much of a tough... Yeah, no, they're playing the Bears. The Bears ain't going to do much, I don't think. Hopefully they do. Hopefully they give them a run for their money. And here's the thing, as good as the Eagles are doing this year, what your team is going to need, you're not going to like, and it may sound stupid, it may sound absolutely ridiculous. You might be thinking, TBloom, you need to shut your goddamn mouth about the Eagles. But here's the thing, if your team's not used to being in tight games and close games, and they're going to come up in the playoffs, and if not the playoffs, in the Super Bowl, your team's going to need to know how you're going to react when you're down 7 with 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter. How are you going to react when you're down 14 with the start of the fourth quarter happening? It's never an easy thing to just pick up and learn. So them blowing out all these teams, yes, it's nice. It's fun for the fans. It's not as heartbreaking, or not as your heart's not jumping out of your chest every game. I understand that, but the experience of being in a close game is underrated, I believe. So I know I've been the biggest hater of the Eagles, so to speak, this whole season. That's the last thing I can say about. That's the last gripe I can have with them as an analyst, is they don't have the experience of being in close games, which is a good problem to have, all things considered. So Charlie, shout out the Eagles. You guys are rolling. You guys are number 1. Congratulations. Next game, we're going to talk about the Baltimore Ravens versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Baltimore would win it 16-14. Baltimore moves to 9-4. Pittsburgh now at 5-8. Let's talk stats, then let's talk game. Mitch Trubisky, 22 for 30, 276 yards, 1 TD, and 3 interceptions. 2 of those interceptions were in the fucking red zone. And we're going to get into that in a second. Deontay Johnson, 6 receptions, 82 yards. George Pickens, 3 receptions, 78 yards. 2 of those receptions were Moss's, and I can't believe we only threw them the ball 3 times. Minkah Fitzpatrick had 11 total tackles. That tells you how bad our run defense was that game. because you got your safety leading your team in tackles. And I know Minkah Fitzpatrick's arguably the best safety in the league, and that's not even being biased. But he shouldn't be getting 11 tackles per game at all. Like, that should not be the case. The Ravens, on the other hand, Tyler Huntley, he would eventually leave the game with a concussion. He'd go into concussion protocol. Going back to why Mitch Trubisky even played, Kenny Pickett took an early hit. He went to concussion protocol right away. So that's why Trubisky came in. But yeah, Tyler Huntley would come in, 8 for 12, 88 yards. J.K. Dobbins, 15 carries, 120 yards, and 1 TD. Gus Edwards, 13 carries, 66 yards. So we got bitched out, pretty much. Baltimore handled us on the line of scrimmage. They just were running it down our throats. Now, we were stopping them, don't get me wrong. They weren't just absolutely just gushing us. There's a reason why we held them to 16 points. The biggest reason why we lost is Mitch Trubisky. So here's my thoughts. Here's my whole perspective of what happened in the game. So Kenny Pickett's going out, boom, right? I'm like, oh shit, fucking, goddamn it, Mitch Trubisky, we're fucked. I mean, what are you gonna do, fucking Mitch Trubisky? I can't stand the guy, right? Then he comes in and he fucking plays good. He plays good. He leads us down to the fucking red zone immediately. And I'm like, holy shit. Holy shit, man. Why I forgot. Why do I hate this guy? He's not so bad. That's good stuff. And then he throws a fucking pick in the red zone right to the stain. Right to the Raven player. Now, it was a little bit, I guess you could say, not his fault. Let me give him some, let me just take it easy on him. Let's just say it was a over route. So you got Freiermuth going over the middle about 10 yards. And then you had the underneath, Sims coming on the underneath route about 3 yards. Mitch threw to him, but the fucking linebacker for Roquan Smith was covering Sims, and he threw it to Freiermuth, and then Roquan just cut it off because whatever. Okay, boom. Well, just chalk it up to bad spacing and stuff like that. Then he comes back, drives him down again, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe, just relax. Yeah, Mitch has got it. Mitch is doing good. He's honestly playing well. He does not look bad at all. But then he just stares down Pat Freiermuth straight down the fucking middle and throws another seam route that had no chance. No fucking chance of being caught. Let alone fucking, oh my God. And then it's another pick. So there's 2. So at this point, I'm absolutely livid. I am absolutely livid. And I know all you Steeler fans are too. Mitch, just don't throw a pick in the red zone. We win this fucking game by 4 points. Easy. Win this game by 4 points. What does he do? Okay, he's kind of driving down the field again. Whoop-de-whoop. Oh, hey, Deontay Johnson, let's go fucking deep route. Because that's fucking worked never this whole season. I'm tired of the Steelers throwing deep to Deontay Johnson. And this isn't a knack on Deontay Johnson. What you need to have, if you're a deep threat in the league, you need to have either 1, stupid size and strength to where you can body somebody. Or 2, demon speed, Tyreek Hill speed. Deontay ain't got none of that. Now I know what you're saying. What do you mean Deontay's got most separation in the league in terms of all his route runs? Deontay's quick. And there's a big difference between being quick and there's a difference between being quick and being fast. Huge difference. Hold on. My buddy's calling me. What's going on, Drew? You're on the talk show.
What's up, Roddy? Look at this bad boy.
You're live on the talk show right now. Oh, what's up, Malcolm? Everyone. Where's my nephew? Okay. Sorry about that. He's talking some other stuff. I'm not going to put that shit on. It'll be cut out. Don't worry. But anyway, there's a difference between speed and quickness. And Deontay has the utmost quickness. That's why he's so shifty. That's why it's tough. He breaks out of routes so quick that defenders can't keep up with him. That's fine. He doesn't have speed, and he's not big at all. If you're going to throw these deep balls, especially in double fucking coverage, Mitch, throw it to George Pickens, the guy who's already caught 2 jump balls for you, you fucking stain. It's not fucking hard. God damn it, man. It's so fucking stupid on how I'm sitting here in Tacoma, Washington, and I can just see all this shit. And, is there no one else telling him? What is Matt Canada saying? Matt, are you coming up to him saying, hey, why the fuck did you... No, you're not going up to say that, because you're sending Deontay Johnson on fucking deep routes, you fuck. I'm over this game. I can't keep talking about it. I'm going to get worked up. The fucking Ravens won 16-14. That lessens the Steelers' likelihood to make the fucking playoffs. What are you at? 34 minutes. Okay. We went through all those. Next game, New York Jets versus the Buffalo Bills. Very interesting game, to say the least. Both these teams need a win. Last time they played, the New York Jets took the dub. Jets would lose 12-20. Jets move on to be 7-6. Buffalo moves to 10-3. Josh Allen, 16 for 27, 1 TD, 10 carries, 47 yards, and 1 TD. Quinnen Williams got 2 sacks as well. Well, Quinnen Williams. Yeah, Quinnen Williams. Does he? I thought. What the fuck? Why is Quinnen Williams on the fucking. Quinnen Williams for the Jets got 2 sacks. I'm fucking smoked. I need to be better at that. Greg Rousseau on the Buffalo Bills got 2 sacks. That's that stat. But for the Buffalo Bills, they're still number 1 in the division. They're still number 1 in the AFC. They're on a 4-game win streak. They're on an even trend because they're the best team in the AFC right now. Sorry, Chiefs. You guys kind of lost that. Not only fucking yourselves against the Bengals, but also barely beating the Broncos. Their next game, the Buffalo Bills' next game, is against the Miami Dolphins. Going to be another one. We already talked about that. On the Jets side of the ball, Mike White, 27 for 44, 268 yards, 6 receptions, 78 yards. Greg Rousseau, 2 sacks. God, I fucked up again. Greg Rousseau does not play for the Jets. He plays for the Bills. The Jets are now still 4th in the division. They're on a 2-game losing streak. They are not in the playoff race right now. Well, they're in the race, but they are not in a playoff position right now if the season were to end today. And their next game is against the Detroit Lions, as we talked about before. That's going to be a great, great game. Not much else to say about that game. And just so you know, Justin, I'm not even going to talk about the New England Patriots versus the Arizona Cardinals. That had to be the most boring Monday Night Football game I've ever seen. The only thing we can say about that game, Kyler Murray's out with an ACL tear. It sucks. I don't know how you move forward if you're the Cardinals. You got to chalk it up to, hey, better luck next time. The New England Patriots do sit at number 6 in the playoff race right now, though. So I guess they have something to be proud about. So good luck, Justin, in that shit, because I wish the Steelers were, buddy. Coming up on our last few games, the Cleveland Browns versus Cincinnati Bengals. Remember, coming into this one, Joe Burrow has never beaten the Cleveland Browns. The Bengals have lost their last 5 against them. Guess what? Guess who finally got their first win against the Browns? Joe Burrow. They would win 23-10. Browns are now 5-8. Bengals now 9-4. Joe Burrow, 18 for 33, 239 yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception. Joe Mixon, 14 carries, 96 yards. Jamar Chase, 10 receptions, 119 yards, and a TD. They're number 2 in the division, 5-game win streak. They're 5th seed in the playoffs if the season were to end today. Upward trends all the way for Cincinnati. Shout out to Jordan Hines out there. Congratulations, my friend. I know you're feeling pumped about finally getting over the Cleveland Brown hump. So congratulations. Their next game's against Tampa. We'll see how that goes. Anytime you're playing Brady, it's scary. On the Brown side of the ball, Deshaun Watson, 26 for 42, 276 yards, 1 TD, 1 interception, 6 carries for 34 yards. Nick Chubb, 14 carries for 33 yards. And I bring that stat up specifically the same reason why I brought up Saquon Barkley. If Nick Chubb's only getting 33 yards on 14 carries, the Browns ain't winning the game. That's not what they are built to do. They are built to pound the ball, and as soon as they can't, they won't win the game. How about Donovan Peoples-Jones, though? After last week returning a punt and doing all he could to make that happen. This week he comes in, 8 receptions, 114 yards. Myles Garrett, he's got 2 sacks. So that's stats for that. They're still 3rd in the division. They're on a 1-game losing streak. Not in the playoffs right now. Downward trend, though. Next week they got the Baltimore Ravens. So we'll see how that goes. Division games in the AFC North, but division games in the AFC North are always close. But the Cincinnati Bengals will take this one. Next game, Houston Texans versus Dallas Cowboys. I predicted Houston, and I didn't predict them based off of any stat or anything like that. I picked them based off of 100% hype. Like, let's fucking go, Texans. Come out, win the Battle of Texas against the Cowboys, and they damn near did if it wasn't for a game-winning drive by Dak Prescott. I think it was 95 yards all the way down the field. Zeke Elliott would go in, make that final rushing touchdown to really seal the deal. Houston Texans 1-11-1 now. Dallas Cowboys 10-3. Dak Prescott 24 for 39, 284 yards, 1 TD, 2 interceptions. Zeke Elliott 15 carries, 62 yards, 1 TD with the game-winning TD. Tony Pollard, though, 10 carries, 42 yards, 1 TD, 4 receptions, 20 yards. No reception for a TD. Tony Pollard, shout out. I traded him, and this is the reason why I'm not in the playoffs, because I made some bonehead errors early in the season. I traded Tony Pollard for fucking chump change. I mean, the guy, as soon as I fucking traded him, he came out and started just blowing up. Still respect him, though. Tony Pollard, good stuff. Dalton Schultz, 6 receptions, 87 yards. Dallas sits at number 2 in their division, right behind the Eagles. They're on a 4-game win streak. 5th seed in the playoffs. Trend even. Next game against the Jags. Other side, Texans, 4th in their division, 8-game losing streak. They're looking to make the number 1 spot for the number 1 pick in the draft. I mean, they're just that damn good. They're on an even trend because they suck. They're the worst team in the league. You can't go down from there. Their next game is against the Chiefs. So things are looking good for that number 1 pick for the Texans. Looking good. Next game, final game, or I think that was the final game. Yep, that's the final game, folks. It's been an emotional episode, I know. I mean, things have just not gone my way at all, and I'm taking it out on you guys, and I'm sorry. TBloom Nation, as always, I appreciate every single one of you guys who tune in every single week. Absolutely love you. Remember to tell a friend to tell a friend. We need 100 subscribers by the end of the month, or the plug might get pulled on the TBloom Talk Show. I don't want to see that happen. I know you don't, so go ahead. Give me a follow. Find me right here. Oh, this whole thing. Just follow all those and tell your mom. It's not a mom joke. I'm just saying. Tell your mom. Maybe tell her sister. Maybe to tell her dad. I don't know. With that being said, TBloom Nation, I'm out. TBloom, your host. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, I'll see you Friday for all the scores and predictions that is going to happen for the next week. Stay tuned, motherfuckers. Sayonara. TBloom. Outie.